Today we're going to start our spout, okay? Want to review different parts of the teapot. So we went in over this last week as we started up our teapot. Okay, a couple things about the spout that's really important. When you go to make a spout, the first thing you need to think about is you need to decide what sort of shape do you want? And with all of these things, whether it's the handle or any part of this, the first thing you probably want to do is draw it out. Okay, so on a piece of paper in your notebook, okay, how do I want the shape of my spout? It's kind of sometimes like a little drumstick for, you can think about it that way. Each person's teapot will have a different kind of a spout. Sometimes they look like a little bit like a bird's head. I don't know, they kind of remind me of like a little bird. So sometimes that can help you think about it. Other ones look like different animals, like a little camel or something. They have the shape of that kind of a feel. I have a tool that you can use to make your spout. This is a pretty handy tool because it's a cone shape. It's made out of wood. I actually have that one, and I also have a very long, skinny, they're sort of like cone making tools. This is a much longer one. I found the little fat one is a little easier to work with. Okay, so when you make a spout, you really want to use really soft clay, the freshest, softest clay you can find, okay? So I rolled out this slab right before class. I've been keeping under a wet towel because what you're gonna find is that you're gonna be doing a lot of manipulation of the clay. And so to get it just how you want it, spouts are a little bit finicky, okay? So they require a little bit more, just kind of focus, I guess. My general idea when you're making a spout is you want to cut out a slab that's a cone shape. So here's one I just cut out a few minutes ago. It's about 5 inches long on either side, and it's got a curve here. And I'm gonna use this to make the spout. All right, so we're gonna take this tool, and I'm gonna just roll it into a cone, and this is where we're gonna start. So what you can see is I'm kind of just making it into a little cone there. And you use the tool to kind of define things. You're going to want to slip and score it because these things have a tendency to come apart because you're going to be manipulating it quite a bit. So put some slip on the edge, score it all the way across. And they always come off on that part. All right, so this is a little longer than I'm gonna need, but I also am gonna wanna cut it. So I'm gonna cut it about here and double check my slip and scoring there. Okay. All right, so once I've kind of slip and scored it, I'm gonna roll it a little bit. That'll release it from the cone, okay? And now I have this little cone shape to work with. My suggestion is try your thumb. The thumb tends to be kind of the shape of down here. So if you look at this part of the shape of the spout down here, imagine putting your thumb in there and trying to work that shape out. So what I tend to do is take my thumb, and that's why I was saying, like, when you slip and score it is really important because you've got to stretch that clay. That's why you've got to have it really soft. So I want to make that kind of come out. And look at that, it's starting to split a little bit on me. So I'll make sure that doesn't come apart. That seam, you got to keep that moist the whole way through. Also, I don't know if you can see that inside, I've got a little bit of a split on the inside. So you've got to keep that moist also on the inside. okay? So I'm getting there. So if I want to make this more vertical, I'm going to have to cut it on a dais. So I'm going to have to kind of go all the way up like that kind of thing. It's very finicky. This is the part that, you know, can be a little frustrating because you've got to figure it out. All right, so there's kind of the opening of that first part. Okay? Now, when I put it on my teapot, I've got to figure out exactly where it's going to go, right? So there's also the placement. So the clay is nice and soft, I can kind of place that on there. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. All right, so this is approximate placement, and it's probably too tall right now. A lot of teapot artists are real specific that they want the handle to line up with the lid, to line up with the top of the spout. So there, I will probably need to trim it there also. Think about it. Your spout is delivering the tea from the bottom of the pot into that little pour, okay? So the other thing that's kind of finicky, I've got to get it lined up. I like to have this in line as well, okay? And then the third finicky thing, just to make your life even more finicky, is I've got to make the pour thing. All right, so let's do that now. So I'm going to cut it again down here. I'll zoom in. When I cut it, it often will close it up. I need to open that back up. I will probably need to get a tool in there somehow. Take my time here. And this is going to be where the tea pours. So you want to make this kind of like a little bit, you know, spend a good little bit of time here paying attention to the way that this, you want this to come out of a smaller end here. All right, so that's kind of a teardrop end there, so that the tea will come out of there, okay? All right, one last thing. I've got to connect this to my teapot. All right, and when I connect it, it's not just putting it on there. I got to have, my tea has to come out of there. So I'm going to mark it first. And yes, it is a little crooked, so get that down, and then I'll fix the crookedness as well. So I still need to mess with this a little bit. All right, so approximately this is where the spout is going to go, okay? And then on that end, I don't want the tea leaves coming out. I just want to make little holes. And you can do this in a very uniform way. You can measure them out. I should probably use a ruler and do it properly, but I'm just doing it this way. I'm alternating. So my tea comes out, but my tea leaves stay in the pot. Anybody drink tea? Tea drinkers are very particular about how they want their tea. Some of them. Okay, so this is kind of how the water's going to come out and not the tea. All right, does that make sense? All right, and then all that's left to do is what? Slip and score, right? That's basically how you do your spout.